Okay, we should be live. You guys should be able to hear me. Why can't you see me? Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there we go. Alright, cool. Sweet. We are good. We're here. Awesome. Alright, so what's good, everybody? Hope you're all doing amazing tonight. Warning. Okay, I am having an extremely bad day with my allergies, right? It's been fucking terrible with my allergies. I don't know if it's just Florida or what, but you guys are going to hear me sniffling and snaffling, right, a lot, right? So just bear with that. If I sneeze a couple times, bear with me. It's pretty uncomfortable, right? So, bear with me on that, right? If you have allergies, then you know, right? Okay, so I'm excited for today, though. We've had a pretty good week so far, right? We had a lot of movement in the market this week, right? Especially the past few days. So we're going to be breaking that down. What setups we've been taking this week, what setups we missed, right? And we're going to be breaking down why we took them, okay? I am expecting that we have a few newer viewers on here tonight, right? Whether you are in Cashflow, whether you're not in Cashflow, whether you just got started with us, or whatever the case may be, right? So I want to be able to keep these calls entry level, but still intricate enough to make it worth everybody's time. Okay, so the way that I'm going to be able to do that in the most beneficial way for you, the viewer, possible, right, is if you guys have a question, or if you get confused about something, or whatever the case may be, type it in the chat, right, and ask your questions, right, or state your concerns. If you think I'm wrong, say that I'm wrong, right, and tell me why I'm wrong, and then we'll break it down live in front of each other. Right, the way that you don't learn is if you don't ask for help, okay? So if I don't see any questions happening tonight, or if I don't, see any sort of confusion, I'm gonna kind of go through my markups over the past week since Monday or since Sunday. And I'm going to go over what happened today in the market, and maybe we'll get into what I think is what's going to happen tomorrow and Friday with the news and everything. But like I said, if it's just kind of like me talking and there isn't any questions, I am going to move through this kind of fast because talking, like I said, feels very gross right now for some reason, right? So I'm going to do what I can to educate you guys, and if you have questions, ask me. If not, then, I'm going to try and wrap this up in like 30, 40 minutes, right? Keep it short and sweet for everybody. So, with that being said, let's get into today's information, right? Today is Wednesday, right? We're officially doing Wednesday live streams, right? Wednesday night live streams instead of Sunday. Some people said, we had a vote. More people said that they would attend on Wednesday night, so we're gonna stick to it for Wednesday night and see how it goes. Okay, so let's do this. Jeez Louise, guys. Macaroni and cheese, man. Alright, let's go to Sunday. Oh, well, let's go back to last Wednesday, because that's where we analyzed it. We'll go... Where did I do it? I might have deleted it. Well, pretty much, guys, if you guys want to go... I guess I deleted it. I don't know why I did. But if you guys want to go watch last week's call, we were trading at, like, right around here, right? And then basically we had said that price was... I was assuming that price was going to push up to this zone. When we did push above this zone, I did another call about this on, like, Thursday, where I had said that once we broke this trend line, right, that we were going to wait for a new low, and then we were going to establish our fib structure from there, right? That's exactly what we did. Okay, called the trade out live in the Discord, right? We entered in for shorts around here, okay, and then we were able to take profit 1, 2, and then eventually take profit 3 before the market reversed, right? So that's earlier last week. moving into this current week, right, where we ended up at on Sunday. Right, let's do this, make it nice and easy. Right, we'll go to Sunday, right around where we would have done our call, right around here. Right, so this was what basically, same thing, I sent this out in the Discord, I just didn't do a call about it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying not to sneeze, man. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, anyways, what happened is, so this was Sunday night market open, right? We were around here, trading around here. What we decided to do, right, or what I decided to do is we had two options at this point, right? Since we had this original downwards movement right here already be fulfilled, right, with our current fib structure that I just had marked up here and that I just deleted, right, since that was ultimately filled, right, and that Fibonacci retracement was completed, right, now what we do is we would look for the next one, right, so that one was completed, we deleted that one, and now the reason why I drew this one to begin with, right, was because this was a new impulsive move back up, right, even though it wasn't a break of structure, in the sense that, right, if you guys want to look here, right, in the sense that this low, right, I mean that this high isn't as high as this is, right, we would still count that as a new fib structure just because of how impulsively it pulled back up, right, so that's exactly what we did. So Sunday night, new fib structure, right, and we were going to wait to enter off of the break back above this orange box, right, or the pink box, whatever color you guys have, whatever. Point being is, though, after we did that, right, we got in, I think it consolidated a little bit. Yeah, so we got in on this break, came back to our entry, gold, and then there we go, right, take profit 1 got hit, take profit 2 got hit, we held it. This was on like Tuesday, I think, or Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was, and then it came up, and then eventually it came up to take profit 3 eventually, right? I'll let that play out. But as you guys can see here, I forgot the exact time and entry price, but we got in somewhere around here. As soon as it broke above this orange line, right, that's when we decided to get in, right? Take profit 3 ended up getting hit, right? And now this is where we were analyzing at yesterday, right, or the day before, right, so all the take profits got hit, right, based off of the fib. And then something else that I wanted you guys to take note of as well, that also helped us take this trade, that I also did take note of, right, is this. Okay, we had a very textbook market structure pattern that formed here, right? So what we're going to do is, for the people that don't know or didn't trade this, right, what we're going to do is we're going to look back, right? We're going to go back to, like, right around, we'll say right around here, because this is where we were looking, right? Does anyone have an idea about what market pattern is forming here? I'm going to give people a second to guess while I get it here for you. Right? Textbook, head and shoulders, right? Textbook, oops, let me delete this, my bad. Textbook inverted head and shoulders, right? So, even though I don't like to rely on those too much, right? And then this is the thing too, right? If you guys are brand new and you're just getting started, none of this shit's gonna make sense to you, right? So, don't expect it to, right? But it really isn't that complicated once you start seeing it, right? I had this conversation earlier with another student where the way that you're able to, you know, just make the identifications in a kind of fast way, right? That really just comes from raw experience. You're not going to be able to rush that process. You're not going to be able to, you know, force yourself to take a billion notes or look at the chart a billion times and then you're just going to be able to identify it, right? Those kind of things take time. Okay, and it takes a little bit of patience and it takes a little bit of practice, right? While you're using your indicators or while you're using your Fibonacci's or while you're using your support resistance levels, whatever it is, right? It takes a little bit of time for you to just look and then be able to identify if the market is making some sort of formation or if a candle is, making some sort of specific candle chart or fucking candle pattern, right? Or same thing with the indicators, or if you're looking for, a break of structure, or if you're looking for divergence or an order block or, liquidity sweep, whatever the case may be, right? In order for you to identify those, relatively easily, not saying it like that, but the way that I'm able to, right? And the way that other people that have been trading for 2-3+ years consistently are able to, right? That's only because of the word that I just said. Consistently trading for the past 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? So don't try to rush that process. Don't get discouraged if you're like, oh shit, how I can't possibly, how is he seeing that? It looks like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to me, so it looked like mumbo jumbo to me too in the beginning. So don't get discouraged, right? But point being is we had this very textbook inverted head and shoulders forming, right, along with our fib confirmation, right? And if we want to add in other stuff, right, let's just take it a little bit farther, right? So for the people that get a little bit scared, right, so if we just take our little crosshair, right, and we're gonna do this around here, okay, we're gonna look over here. What is the big number that it looks like price came exactly to, right? What is the exact really big number that price came to, right? I talked about this every single live stream that we've done since we started doing them this year, right? About what my strategy basically is I'm a confirmation based trader. Where I use a bunch of different tools, right? I'll use a bunch of different tools. But the 3 things that I would like to say, really, this is for Forex2 specifically, right? For Forex2. I'm going to start doing my binary live streams, again, maybe in another week or so. And we're going to be doing our binary flip challenge. But, this right now we're talking Forex. So, for Forex, right, it's fibs, psych zones, and supply and demand, right? Everything else is basically going to move around that, right? If you boil it all down, everything else is going to sum up into one of those 3 things, right? So, right, 2 people already said it, correct, right? It lines up perfectly with the 8,000 psych zone, right? And now, when you really just start embracing that simple concept of trading, it makes trading pretty simple, right? And it makes trading a little bit easy, right? Because you're not overcomplicating yourself by looking for an exact setup, right? You're just using the different tools that you have knowledge about, and you're just lining them up, right? You're just seeing which ones line up. If you have 4 to 5 things that line up, it's a good trade, right? So far, now we have the psych level, okay? We have an inverted head and shoulders, right? We have the fib level, right? There's 3. Okay, now let's just keep looking, right? Let's just keep looking. Now, since we have a psych level, let's see if we can identify supply and demand. Right, let's just see if we're able to. Right, so let's go look at previous areas of liquidity, right? This looks very close to this impulsive move up, right? It also seems relatively close to this drop-off area right here. Right, it seems relatively close to this impulsive area where the market shot down and shot back up, right? If we want to go to a higher time frame, right, it also seems to line up very closely with these previous areas over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just keep it going a little bit farther, right? 8. And then very similar pattern that we just saw happening right now, right? So all you gotta do is just go back, right? So now we have support and resistance confirmation, if you want to say that, or you have supply and demand confirmations if you want to use supply and demand. Hold on, let me read I just saw your question right now, bro. Brian. Hey, shout out to Brian too, man. He took a risk the other day, right? He's a brand new student, right? Coming from the same relative area as me, right? So he's 19, I'm pretty sure. So right around the age when I got started, right? So shout out to you, bro, right? And to answer your question, so when the pullback happens, do you wait for the lines to go up again? We'll dive into that. We'll dive into that question a little bit more specifically. Because I think I have an idea what you're describing, but I want to be sure, and I don't want to sound silly, right? But point being is we'll get back into that one though. So confirmations, yeah. So now we have support and resistance, supply and demand, whatever. And if we want to add in some other stuff, right? Let's look at this here. Right. This is going down, right? I know it just got really cloggy, right? Just got really crowded, but that's because I have the other drawings. But we're looking at this trend line right here, okay? This is going down. This is going up. Okay? This is going down. This is going up, right? So we have divergence. Another great confirmation, right? So we have more than enough confirmations now, ladies and gentlemen, to feel confident about the setup, right? I'm not saying here because we have those confirmations that I'm exactly right and you need to load up your entire account balance on this single trade, right? But I'm saying we have enough confidence, right, to take the trade, right? And then as you guys can see, right, as we'll just let the time play out a little bit again, right, the market did exactly what we thought it was going to do, right? So we had an amazing start to the week, right? It came down a little bit, whatever, ignore that, right? If you want to take a look right here too, textbook double bottom pattern, right? Double bottom, okay? And if you guys are inside of the Cashflow Discord, if you guys go to bonus information and then you guys go to market patterns, right? I'll show you guys for people that don't know. If you go to market patterns, right, or candlestick patterns, I have them all. Majority of them. There's fucking hundreds or thousands of them that people are gonna say. But if you go to bonus info, right, market structure down here, I have them all really neatly organized for you to print out and look for them in the market, right? That way you can learn how to identify them, okay? So there's that, and candlestick patterns, right? So you guys start using those as you develop with your trading, right? Here's a big thing too. Do not rely on candlestick patterns, people, right? Or do not rely on market patterns, right? That's a very, very, very dangerous road to go down, okay? It can confuse the shit out of you, right? And when you start relying on the pattern, you're going to get screwed, okay? The pattern is a confirmation that is derived, okay, from order flow, right? Well, for those of you guys that don't know what order flow is, it's very much in what the word is, okay? The orders that are flowing into the market, right? And now there's only two types of orders, right? There's buys and there's sells, right? So what the market patterns, what those are, or what candlestick patterns are, it's just showing you basically a more clear look as to the battle between the bulls and the bears, right? What's just happening there, right? And now the reoccurring patterns are just typical, like, what's the word to use? Not fractions. Let's use the head and shoulders for example, right? When you see this pattern forming, right? It does not mean that because the pattern formed, the market is going up, right? What it means is that because you see this pattern forming, right, it means that you can derive the idea, right, that there is indecision in the market for it to keep going down, right? Because we're seeing an inverted head and shoulders here, right, all that's saying is that there is a lot more buying pressure coming into the market right now, right? And now what that means is that you have an additional confirmation for buys. Simple. Right? So that's all but if you rely on the patterns, right, you're going to get lost, right? Patterns are like, I'd say like 4th or 5th on the importance totem pole. You know what I mean? So yeah, right? So you get used to seeing them, but then you don't look for them. You know what I mean? But then I'm saying that but coincidentally soon enough, right, we had it literally textbook head and shoulders and then textbook double bottom pattern form. And then last night, right, we'll let this play out a little bit. Sorry, it's going to take a minute. We're getting into more recent times, right? Okay. So let's keep this going a little bit. Okay, so we were trading right around here yesterday, right? So now let's hide the stuff, okay? So we had this very impulsive head and shoulders pattern that pushed the market up. And now what does it look like we have right there, right? And now, and this, I sent this as a joke, right? And I'll show you guys the message. But it looks like, and I literally sent the message word for word, it would be crazy if right after having this inverted head and shoulders, if now we had a normal head and shoulders happen, right? So now, you know, you don't use that as like the sign to sell, but it's just because I was a little confused last night if the market was going to keep pushing up, right? Or if we were going to start selling off, okay? So now it's very, very close, okay, to the exact same analysis that we just had here. Right now, let's just start off, okay? Right? Aside from the regular head and shoulders that we have forming here, right? Let's look at where price went. Right? Let's look at the highest point price went, right? And now, isn't that very close to right around here, 9,000, right? It's off a few pips, right? I'm not going to say it's exact, right? It's not the exact same price, but it's very close, right? And now, same thing, right? We hit a bunch of supply areas, demand areas, support, resistance levels, whatever you want to call it, right? Or you could even say that we hit counter trend, right? If you want to look at it, imagine there's a trend line going right around here, right? We're consolidating on counter trend, right? So now market came down, made a low, came up and made a new high, right? And now, you know, we're good. So that's just, and that's where we were at last night. And what did I say last night? I said I didn't want to trade last night because I wasn't for sure, right? I didn't have enough clarification in this, right, to take the trade, right? So now what I knew coming up though was that we had, what time was this at? It was like, it was like 8 p.m. It was like 9 p.m. something like that. It was like now. But then I said I was gonna wait for London session, right? So now what did I do? I got in during London session, right? So let's push this up a little bit farther. So I got in for a sell. Yeah, so I got in for a sell. I'd say like probably, I forgot the exact price, but I got in for a sell like around here, I would say, right? And then me, I make mistakes, right? So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Here's what happened, right? So I got in, let me move myself a little bit, make myself a little tinier for you guys. Okay, so I got in like around here, okay? And now it's late, I'm tired, I'm sleepy, right? So what did I do? I was lazy, right? So now, yeah, me, I'm the mentor, I'm the person that's teaching, right? I tell you guys not to be lazy all the time, right? I was lazy, right? I was lazy. I didn't feel like, I didn't feel like looking at it, so what did I do, right? I was being cheap, okay? I said, oh, you know what? I don't really trust this too much. And it's not even a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? But it ended up being a bad thing, right? Because I put my stop loss like 5 pips above my entry, okay? So I put my stop loss was like 5 something. So I got stopped out, like, I had my stop loss right around here. Like, right around where this high was, right? So I got stopped out in the middle of the night, okay? And, no, and I woke up at like 7 a.m., right? And I saw that I got stopped, right? And now if we just keep looking, okay, the market, what happens shortly fucking after that, right? So the market completely tanked, right? Shortly after this happened, right? And I missed the entire trade, right? Even though I knew what was happening, right? Even though I was right about the analysis, right? But what was my mistake, right? My mistake was not letting the trade breathe, right? And not being patient enough to actually analyze it and notice, okay, right, if there's high impact, because there was high impact news that came out, right? if there's high impact news that's going to be coming out tomorrow morning, relatively soon, right? And we have all of these selling pressure signs, right? Traditionally, what happens before the news is what, right? For people that actually trade. If you're expecting the market to go up because of the news, right? Probably what's going to happen is before the news comes out, right? The market's going to push down a little bit more, right? And it's going to, make people entice people to either start buying, or I'll use this example, right? Right? So I was in a trade for a sell, okay? Me knowing that I'm targeting a big trade, right? I'm expecting this to be a big trade. I'm expecting this to be a big move, right? And me knowing that I'm not the smartest person in the fucking world, me knowing that I'm not the only trader in the world, me knowing that there's a bunch of other people seeing the same exact thing, okay? Don't you think that banks and institutions would know that too? Right? Don't you think that, a lot of liquidity providers or, other people would know that too? So what do they do in these situations, right? They know that 90% of people are selling right here, okay? So what are they going to do, right? They're going to pump the market up a little bit, okay? To do what? To take stop orders, okay? And to push those people out of the market. Why would they want to do that, right? So that way they get better pricing, okay? And they get a bigger movement, right? So now what's happening is they had retail people selling here, like me, okay? And now they got faked out, right? As soon as they collect, let's just use a number, right? Let's say they collect $50 billion, right? From buy orders or from stop losses being collected right here. Let's just say they collect $50 billion, right? What are they going to do with that $50 billion the second they fucking get it, right? They're going to pump it right back into the market, right? And then that's exactly what happened, right? So I missed that entire trade, guys, right? But what we noticed also was this, okay? So we had it drawn, right? I don't want to delete all of these, but kind of have to. Right, so this trade won. I can delete this now. This trade won, whatever. Okay, so what we could have done, if you wanted to, and we talked about this too, we could have drawn a little fib right here, right? High to low, recent high, recent low, right? And just look how textbook. It just look it just moves perfectly, right? So if we just look, right? Market came, started the fib. Where did it go, right? The heart, right? The exact pinnacle price of the gold zone, right? Hits the gold zone, and then what does it do, right? It's completely tanked, right? Take profit 1, take profit 2, take profit 3, all the way down through take profit 4, right? And now if we look at where price moved to, right, it moved straight through to the next psychological zone. It broke through, right? We were at, let's just call this 8,500. We'll call it 8,500 just to be, clean and simple to the point, right? Once we were at 8,500, where did it go to? Next one, 7,500, right? So it moved 100 pips, right? Whole 100 pips in one day, right? Zone to zone, psych zone to psych zone, right? Fib got hit, next psych zone, right? Supply zone got hit, next psych zone, right? So it's a very simple and very consistent analysis, right? I do the same thing every single trade. I don't do anything different, right? And now that's why my trades have been really good the past year, is because a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was still doing really good with my trades, but I would struggle when it came to long-term consistency, right? After like 2 months of me doing really good, right? Let's say I had a bad week, right? That bad week would convince me that those 2 months of great trades just didn't, like, they just don't count. You know what I mean? Like, and that one bad week is what really matters for my trading. And what that would cause me to do is to start researching a billion other things in the market. Right? I'm gonna turn my camera off for a sec. Right? But it would cause me to start researching a billion other things in the market, and honestly, to be completely honest, it made me waste months of my time, right? And it caused an insane amount of unnecessary stress because I'm, again, same thing I tell you guys. I used to think that I had to learn everything in order for me to become a profitable trader, right? Where instead I learned that it was the exact opposite, where you don't need to learn everything. It's good to be aware of different concepts, right? But once you find a system that's simple and it makes sense for you, just stick to it, right? So then that's what I started doing, and I really just honed in on the psych levels, and I honed in on the fibs, and I honed in on finding my other confirmations, and it works, right? It works pretty simple. 40 degrade. Where can I learn how to use these tools and to trade, right? So, a few options, bro. Option one is there's free education and then there's paid education, right? I offer free education like I do on these calls, obviously. On my website, I have free blogs. And then there's other people that have free education, right? And then there's websites like Baby Pips or Investopedia. But the problem with those platforms, dude, is that you're learning on your own, right? Even me teaching you on YouTube right now, there's only so much I can teach you in this one live stream, right? So if you want to go the free education route, you can. It's possible. But if you like the way that I teach you and you want me to be your mentor, more than happy to. I have different paid programs and different levels of mentorship as well, depending on your budget and your situation, dude. So depending on that, you can send me a message. My number, if you want to text me, is 561-377-2122. My Instagram is at Ollie Cashflow. And I could hook you up with a bunch of stuff, dude. If you don't have the money to start trading right now, I can, do my best to at least guide you in the best possible direction for you to, start learning. But based off of experience, dude, with myself and with students that I mentor currently, I have people that have came, after doing a year or two of self-study and self-education, and they wasted a year or two of their lives, bro. And they were able to shortcut the process just by getting mentorship, and what took them 2 years, they learned in 2 months, right? And again, I'm not saying that, to gas myself up. Go sign up with somebody else, dude. Doesn't matter, right? But mentorship definitely would shortcut your learning curve, to be completely honest, right? And it's not, mentorship isn't free, but it is worth it at the end of the day, right? I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my education and my financial future, right? And I still do it actively right now. I spend $4,000 a month right now on a coaching program that I'm in. So yeah, dude, that's the answer to that. You can go learn for free. Text me either way or send me a message either way, and I'll send you free resources that you can go, learn on your own. And then I'll send you my website, and then I'll even send you my competitors' information, dude, and you can check them out too, see whoever's a better fit, and then, start learning from there. And then Brian, this drop, dude, it was insane, man. And it was stupid. It was stupid. Let's just go look. 1 minute time frame. It was stupid because of me, because I didn't take the trade. I was in the trade, got stopped out, and then I got psyched out. Right? So this whole drop was one candle, right? Let's look closely. Right? Yeah. So the first candle was at 8:30 a.m. from the top of it to the bottom. So 60 pips in 1 minute, right? 1 pip per second. That's fucking insane, right? The next minute, so in a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let's just say 10 minutes, right? So in 10 minutes, we dropped 84 pips. 10 minutes, we dropped 84 pips, right? This initial drop, though, was 1 minute, and that was 60 pips, to answer your question, dude. But so yeah, right, so for this week, that's what I was going at, right? So for this week, to end the week off, we have important news tomorrow as well. Personally, right, I'm expecting a bullish move, right? As you guys can see, I have this here. Let me delete this fib. This fib was already finished. What the fuck? Okay, so I drew a fib from... here, down to here. So my trade, my buy trade, what I'm expecting is, let's say we go, once we get enough confirmation, right? When we get a big, strong bullish candle or whatever, right? Whatever, right? When we get a confirmation, we're going to target 3 things, right? Take profit 1 is going to be this orange box, right? This orange box is another psych zone, right? If you want to go practice, go look at your chart and see what psych zone is around this orange box, right? Next target, right, is the gold zone, right? The gold zone just so happens to line up with target number 3, which is another psych zone, right? So it's another psych zone, right? So we're just going to target a few things, right? Like I said. And then the last target probably won't get hit, but this target is anywhere between here up to here, right? Now, what that target represents is 2 things, right? One is it represents our supply drop-off area, right? The market tanked here, so that's where the market's probably going to go back to fill that price, okay? Second thing that we're targeting, right, is I talked about this last week as well, right, is when it comes to the fib, right, there is a number in between here and here, right, and it's called 81, right, 81.2, right, the 81.2 area is like the least, what's the word, least reoccurring fib structure, fib number. I don't even talk about it in the course because it's not really, it's overcomplicating it, right? It's overcomplicating it, right? But once you learn what you're doing, then you can, you know, use this stuff to and take it into consideration, right? So the 81 level is right in between these two, okay? Now, this is the last retracement area, right? And this last retracement area just so happens to line up with what, right? It lines up with our supply, lines up with our resistance, right? Lines up with our 8,500 psych level, right? And it lines up with a bunch of other handy dandy cool things, right? So now that we understand that, right, our target, okay, let's say we were to enter here on a confirmation, right? Or let's say we took it up a little bit, right? Let's say we entered on the break, right? Let's say we entered, right? Let's say we entered above this high, right? Market makes a new high. We enter it. We're long, right? We're going to target. Take profit 1 is around 20 pips, 25 pips. Take profit 2, around 40, right? Take profit 3, take profit 4, whatever, how many take profits you want, right? So we're going to put it around here. Total is 80 pips, right? Do I really see that happening? Probably not. Right, so we're going to move our stop around 20 pips, right? And now we're just going to target these areas, right? If the market comes up to around here and we're feeling like, oh, okay, it's probably going to go back down, close the trade or move your stop loss. Simple, right? And now my analysis, though, is once we come back up to fill this, right, immediately after, we're probably going to do what? What happens when you get into the gold zone, ladies and gents, right? We're going to sell, right? So when it gets up to here, this will probably be the target, right? And then we just target where the market just came from, right? So pretty simple, right? It's pretty simple, right? Again, same thing I say every week, right? Do I know that this is going to happen? Of course I don't, right? Of course I don't, right? If I did, you know, I'd be eating lunch with Bill Gates and whoever else, Mark Zuckerberg right now, right? If I did, right? But I don't, okay? I have a very educated, biased decision about what I think it's going to do, but I'm going to make my actual entry whenever I get more confirmation, right? There's not a lot of stuff to do right now, right? Tokyo session is going to be just opened up, right? It's opening right now. So there's not going to be much movement right now. So it's going to take a little bit of time, right? So I might get up for London around 3 a.m. if I see that we're still consolidating around here, right? Honestly, look, honestly, just based off of what we're seeing right here, right? Just based off of just raw. I'm gonna draw a little squiggly line, and I've been doing this, right? We're gonna see how it looks next week. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how much power the squiggly line holds, ladies and gentlemen. So it came down here, right? We're consolidating off of this zone. We're probably gonna break down a little bit, right? Probably consolidate a little bit tonight, right? Whatever. And we're gonna come up, right? Probably hit this zone, push back down a bit, come up to here, and now I'll push it up to here. I'll say we'll come up to here. Right in between. We'll get right in the middle. Right? When we hit this area, right, that trade is going to be complete, and then we're just going to smoothly work our way back down. Probably consolidate around this zone again. I do see this target, right? I do see 87, I do see 7,000 as the main target ultimately. So this is what we got, right? This is what we got for the next couple days. This is what I see, right? And this is what I'm telling you guys. This is what I'm seeing currently, right? It could be completely different tomorrow. It could be completely different by Monday, right? Remember, we have high impact news in the morning. Let's go take a look at that before I let you guys go. PPI previous was 0.6. The forecast is 3. It was positive today. So, based off of this, if news is positive, this is going to be completely wrong, right? If this is positive, if news tomorrow morning is positive, market is probably, I would say this very confidently, if the news tomorrow is confident, we're going to consolidate around here until tomorrow morning. Based off of the news, we're going straight to take profit, right? Or we're going straight to this whole number zone, right? Depends on the news tomorrow morning, okay? That's really what it boils down to at the end of the day. We can look at the lines all day long, but tomorrow morning, the economic data is going to be what determines the price, right? But because we did an analysis, right, we kind of have already an idea, right, where as long as we're good on the news, we have a price target, right? So as long as news is good, if the news is bad for the dollar, we're buying, right? Obviously, right? If the news is bad for the dollar, if the news is good for the dollar, this trade is invalid, and tomorrow morning we will reanalyze that, and I will update you guys in the Discord group chat. If you guys are not in the Discord group chat, it means one of two things. It means that you are in Cashflow and you have been irresponsible and not checked your emails, right? And you haven't checked your emails and you haven't got the login link yet, right? So make sure you do that, right? And if you are not in Cashflow, right, it means that you just can't get into it, right? So if you want to get into the Discord group and you're not in Cashflow, I look like a nerd right now because of my allergies. But send me a message, right? And I got you. And I'll make sure that you get in there. But with that, guys, that's all I got for you. Any questions, comments, or concerns before I go ahead and wrap the call up and go sneeze my brains out? Does anyone have any questions, confusions? Oh my gosh. Cool. Sweet, guys. So, pretty simple call. I appreciate you all hopping on. If you are a student, shout me out on social media, right, at Ollie Cashflow. It means the world to me, and it goes a very long way. Right, I'll even post for you guys. Right? But, shout me out on social media. If you're not a student, get plugged in. If you have any questions and you are a student or you're not a student, feel free to text me, call me, ask me questions, ask me in the Discord, send me a message on Instagram, whatever you guys want to do. But either way, if you're not working with us, get to work with us or without us, right? But get to work. That way we can all see you at the top, guys, because the bottom is way too crowded, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all hopping on. God bless you. Stay abundant. And I will see you all next Wednesday. And if you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. Peace. Shout me out too. Don't be stingy. Shout me out. Much love.